Chapter 74. The Pirates. He jumps back and avoids her swings as she rips at the axiom as much as possible, but there's just so little left that she quickly tires. "Been neglecting your conditioning?" he asks, just out of her reach before she dodges to the side to avoid a lazily tossed blast of lightning. "No fun on the other side, is it? Knowing that you're helpless in front of someone else. How are you doing this? You're creating axiom," she whispers in horror as she sees the energy burning around him, brighter and stronger than the surrounding terrain. It dissipates quickly but adds to the local power instead. "How?" "I study. I learn. I experiment and often fail, but I've learned so much, and even better, I've learned how to learn," he remarks, and she stares at him before all 13 give him vicious smiles. 7 of them start making grasping motions as they suck in breaths deep enough that her gills open up on the sides. The whole mess of a monster rushes forward faster than a creature its size actually can, and he leaps away with a stern look on his face before dodging lightning. "You might be able to make more somehow, but you showed me how to take it when you killed the puppy." She hisses at him and dodges a blast of lightning. "If you think you can handle it, then take it." "Oh, don't think I'll die like little Yvette. I know better than to touch agitated axiom or let it be force-fed to me," Jem remarks from one of her unoccupied mouths as she continues to drink in Franklin's axiom. "The fact that it either hasn't occurred to you or that you've dismissed that I've put together a behavioral and capability-based profile on both you and Yvette before coming here says volumes of either your idiocy or arrogance." She pauses for a moment as she churns through just what he said, and realization dawns. "So you're saying that you've had this whole thing planned out, that you knew what was going to happen the whole time?" "I'm no prophet, but everything's been going according to plan," Franklin muses calmly. She hurls a lightning bolt at him. Even now, all is as I've written. All that waits is the last 2 steps. Your own self-made damnation and the final words you hear while alive. "No, I am in control. I have the axiom. I have the strength. I am in charge," Jem hollers in a blind fury as she rips the axiom out of him further. He staggers for a moment, but the moment his hand touches the ground, he suddenly has an ocean's worth of power. He vanishes, and she pulls harder before following the ever more visible streams of power. She charges, growing closer and closer until he vanishes again. Over and over she charges him only for him to vanish as she draws in more and more axiom until she grows frustrated and begins calling lightning from the clear skies. The movement of the power begins refilling the local axiom, but Jem tears away at it, heedless of the growing smirk on Franklin's face as he shifts again and again, forever a hand on the ground and comfortably reclined in a dry patch of the dirt. "Not putting it together, are you?" Franklin asks as he smirks. Somehow his every teleport makes him stronger, feeding him an enormous amount of axiom even as he shifts. She rips more and more out of him and the surrounding environment. "Hey, bud, Doc set up her own camera to zoom in on this game you're playing, just waiting for the signal. It better be a standard one, otherwise we're going to lose the stream. Yeah, she's done all the hacking. The whole world is seeing this. I know you think it'll be good for morale, but come on, man, this is a little self-indulgent." J3 chides Franklin over the line. "Also, we hooked up the signal from your earpiece and mic into the stream. They can hear you loud and clear." "You as well, J3, and thank you. This is important. This part of the continent and an entire archipelago of islands are laying fallow for the sake of these 2. We show the world that they're dead in ways that will never be recovered from, and we get a huge breadbasket. Among other uses, just make sure to give the proper signal." J3 warns him. 10-4. Franklin replies before he vanishes in front of a massive column of lightning that slams into where he once was. Twice more he vanishes, and more lightning comes down each time. The axiom being ripped from him is visible now as streams of smoky light that pours into the mouths of Jem as she instead slowly walks up. I must admit, your strategy confuses me. Big competitions of power and big boasting blasts of energy. But now you're letting me just take all the axiom? Jem asks in bafflement as she looms over him. You really don't understand, do you? This is even worse than Yvette and the Bones, Franklin asks. Dude, I'm confused too. J3 remarks into the line. This isn't adding up. What are you even trying to do? Jem demands as the amount of axiom Franklin is producing grows more and more as the dry patch surrounding him spreads. It's drying. Are you somehow turning the water into axiom? Starting to put it together. Keep going. You're letting me take the axiom, somehow making more of it out of the water. She considers as she paces around him. If I don't take it, then you attack again and a straight-up fight is almost impossible. You're too fast and too vicious to easily kill. Keep going, Franklin urges her with a large grin. Which means you're stalling for time, Jem remarks. And you went down the wrong path entirely. You were getting so close, Franklin states. There is indeed a trap, one you're still barreling towards. I've set up what's called a catch-22. I've set up a situation that by its very definition is unwinnable for you. The axiom is the key, yes, but whether you keep drinking it or refuse to, I will win. Drink it and you walk into my trap, refuse it, and you will find yourself disarmed in front of an immensely angry adept without anything to counter. Either way, you lose. And if I were to reduce you to paste, she demands, bringing down 3 heads to glare at him as her entire being balances upon a single foot and tail as she holds one of her massive claws over his head. So your way out of the trap involves doing something that you've consistently failed to do for a half-hour straight? That's your grand plan? He asks, and the foot comes down. Really? I've got an enormous amount of axiom flowing from me. Of course, I'm enhanced enough to resist brute force. Where are you getting it from? She screams at him and he vanishes. She spins to find him upon the next hill. Now that would be telling. Speaking of telling, have you figured out the trap yet? He asks, before vanishing in front of a blast of lightning. Jem appears from the discharge of energy thrashing around before 10 of her bodies focus on drinking in as much axiom as possible. If I run to where there's more axiom, you'll chase me. If I attack physically, you counter. You dodge the lighting with ease and learn fast. You want me to have the axiom for some reason. Yes, Franklin says calmly. There's something I can't see or don't know. Something. She muses out loud. He sees it happening and she clearly senses it from the look of sheer horror on her face. That feeling as the thing you've been leaning on so hard just abruptly shifts into something else, and the game utterly changes. He'd scared himself nearly senseless when he discovered this. The axiom brightens within her, grows stronger, then collapses down inwards, becoming so bright it actually inverts and becomes shadow instead. It pulses out from her. It knocks out both flying camera drones, drops her to the ground, and Franklin lets out a groan as a sensation that's a combination of an adrenaline, caffeine, and sugar crash hit him all at once with an axiom crash. Be gone, thought, Franklin remarks, and in the distance J3 pulls the trigger on the oversized rifle. The enormous bullet screams through the air, compressing it in front of its pointed nose. The words Malleus Maleficarum etched ever so into its side. It's well named, for this bullet was crafted specifically to strike down the very witch it bears down upon. Jem's communal body erupts into blood and tiny chunks as the ground behind her shatters, the obscenely huge bullet having torn into her from between all of her torsos and reduced everything behind them into so much paste with barely identifiable chunks of individual organs splattering all around, even as the enormous crater settles. Franklin slowly stands up with a groan of discomfort before cracking his back. "Okay, what the hell happened?" J3 asks over the comm. "Good shot, man." "Thank you, now back on topic. What just happened?" J3 demands. "It's a minor government secret. Long story short, Null is understood enough to be manufactured in small quantities. I set her up to produce Null herself, and that shut her down." Jesus, dude. So you can just make it on a whim. Axiom needs to be gathered and then compressed until its wavelength collapses and inverts. She kept pulling in what I was making until there was too much to safely hold. Then Null. Franklin remarks as he starts walking towards J3. "Not gonna teleport or fly or whatever." Local Axiom is too scrambled. For about minute or three, even the most basic stuff is just gonna fail, Franklin remarks as he puts on a fast clip. "Not to mention I was using too much to keep myself in the game. I feel like I've been run over by a steamroller twice." At risk of the cliche, you should see the other guys. One's a bunch of burnt bones and the other has the chunky salsa rule applied. "You've won," J3 adds. "Excuse me," Dr. Greywind asks into the comms. "Yes," Franklin asks. "Do note that you're on air. The live streams are still going." J3 adds. "Of course I know. I'm the one that hacked into it," she almost snarls. "Still, we're grounded with only this radio and the camera really running for a few minutes, but I have to know, is it that easy to make Null?" "Afraid so. It's not well-known information, you have to really dig to get it, but Null is very much a natural result of Axiom. All the laneways crashing together into cruel space are the reason cruel space is a thing," Franklin answers. "Then does that mean we've got a possible superweapon?" "On the ground, yes, but in space, it's a good way to screw yourself very hard as all the systems crash on the ship. Earth tech needs a couple minutes to switch from Axiom to not on a spaceship, and that's all you get from a Null blast, if the Null doesn't make the Axiom-dense engines go boom." "How close is the average engine from going Null?" Dr. Greywind asks in a worried tone. "It's not. They've got a constant output that bleeds it away even when idle and deactivated. It's why to bring one into Null safely, you have to pull them apart or boom," Franklin answers. "Axiom's almost settled." "Yes or no? Do we have a possible superweapon?" "No. Containment and dispersal's a big issue. Axiom and Null eat at each other and the winner is churned up like a soda can in a pain shaker. The smallest gap, the slightest leak, and it's gone, and you've got a huge amount of system failure surrounding it." Franklin answers as he slowly walks over. He hasn't so much as glanced at Jem's cooling corpse. By the time he reaches both J3 and Dr. Greywind, the Axiom has settled, and he gives them both a smile and a thumbs up. "I'm good now. Let's get to their little hideouts and rescue those hostages. Poor souls have been through enough already." "Oh no, not yet. Sit down, you were practically in the heart of a Null detonation, and you humans may be resistant, but it clearly drained you." "Doctor, I'm fine. I'll be the judge of that. Sit down and follow the light with your eyes," she says, and Franklin gives J3 a look. The sniper merely smirks at him and gestures for him to go through with it. "Fine," Franklin says with a sigh, painfully aware he's being filmed. "We really should focus on rescue, though. Rescue's no good if you fall down on us and need to be rescued too," J3 remarks. "Why must good reason turn on me?" Franklin grumps.